Okay,
The recording has begun.
thank you. Welcome. Thank you for joining today's Parent Session 1, Beginning at the Beginning. This series is intended to meet the needs of parents and their children. We first launched parent sessions in October during National Dyslexia Awareness Month. We were happy to be launching our new series during a time parents and educators are putting a spotlight on dyslexia and the reading struggles some children experience. The Dyslexia Initiative, a nonprofit organization, hosts our Zoom parent sessions on the science of reading. Ashley Roberts is a co-founder and is monitoring our chat box. I'm Marvilene Hagopian, a retired curriculum specialist. I worked at the California Technical Assistance Center for Reading First. I'm a parent of a dyslexic son and a grandmother. I live in Northern California, and it's so exciting to be with you today. We are so thrilled you took time out of your busy day to be with us. During this session, we will watch 2 videos on letter knowledge and the importance of letter recognition. We enjoy learning where our participants live. Please write your general location in the chat box, then Ashley will acknowledge some of your locations. Ashley, do we have anybody sharing their locations with us?
I'm sorry, I was muted. They just started coming in. Stanley, New York, Vancouver Island in Canada, Southern California, North Carolina, San Antonio, Steamboat, Colorado, Fort Benning, Georgia, Chattanooga, Tennessee, Freeport, New York.
Wow, it's really fun to find where all of you are living, and it's fun to share these evenings with you. It's really a pleasure and an honor. Well, COVID-19 has completely changed our lives, our schedules, our world, and we're all feeling a bit overwhelmed. Now you've added school teacher to the list of all your other titles. The purpose of our sessions is to share ways you can support or teach beginning literacy skills at home using a systematic, scientifically proven approach. Our goal is to help you help your children. We will have a panel of educators join us each session. Having experts who are well-versed in the science of reading will enhance our experience. The saying, "It takes a village to raise a child," certainly applies here. You can find panel members' bios on the Dyslexia Initiative's website. Search for the dyslexiainitiative.org. Panel members, when I say your name, please say hello so we can see who you are. First, we have Dr. Norma Baker. I know she's here. She needs to unmute.
Oh, hello. I'm sorry, I was muted.
Roxanne, are you here? She might not be here. Marilyn?
Hello.
Terry?
Hello.
And Michelle.
Hi.
Now, we also have a special guest, Susan DeBeck. Are you here today? In Vancouver, British Columbia.
I don't think she's joined us yet, Marvy.
Okay. Well, hopefully Susan DeBeck, producer of What Children Need in Order to Read, will be with us. Susan is the producer of one of the videos we're watching today. So in today's session, we will watch her video, part 1, Learn the Letters. So now let's transition back to our slides. In our initial meetings, we will be talking about what parents can do to set their young children on the path to literacy. We are beginning at the beginning. The intent of our first several sessions is to help you become familiar with the science of reading and learn foundational skills and content all of us need to know. These skills and concepts are the foundation onto which reading and literacy is built. Knowing these building blocks can help give your child a head start, lessen some difficulties children might experience, and help parents of older children find gaps in their reading, in their children's learning and reading issues. We are aware many of you want to learn how to teach phonics, but please know we will get there, and we are looking forward to teaching you these important skills. But let's illustrate what we're doing now by picturing 100 pieces of a puzzle sitting on your table. Each piece is different, but each piece is important. Missing one affects the outcome of the whole. If you are wondering how many puzzle pieces we would like to give you, the answer is we'd like to share them all. So the subjects of every meeting are like the puzzle pieces. Each topic will be different than what was covered in previous meetings. We will slowly build upon skills previously taught. We invite you to join us from one session to the next. We have much to share and are working very hard to make every minute of your time worthwhile. We are beginning this meeting by explaining procedures and resources we will use from one session to the next. During our sessions, we may watch a video or visit a website about the topic of the day. The topic of the day is different from one session to the next. Meetings may have up to 4 different parts. During content knowledge segments, you will learn what researchers have discovered about what children need to know and do to become successful readers. We know you are looking for concrete ways to work with your children, so we will follow up content knowledge segments with an application component in which we present simplified lessons you can do at home. Content knowledge segments are about the research. Application components are about how you can implement what you learned at home. When appropriate, we will also look at assessments. Assessments can be used to help you figure out what your child knows and still needs to learn. Sessions will end with recommended websites you can visit to deepen your understanding of what we talked about. Some of the links may help you prepare for our next meeting. We will also suggest games or activities you can play with your child to teach the content and skills you are learning. We know your time is valuable, that you don't have a lot to spare. So for this reason, we will devote the first 30 minutes to the topic of the day. Then we will have a wrap-up chat. Wrap-up chats are our time to reflect, practice skills we are learning, and respond to questions you may have. We can augment what you're learning and get to know each other. Some of you might have questions regarding previous sessions. After practicing with your children, you may have even more questions. The wrap-up chat is a good time to clarify. Please know you can type questions or make comments anytime in the chat box. If you have a question, others may be wondering the same thing, so please do not be shy. It's important to us that your questions are thoroughly addressed. After responding to your questions, we'll check back with you to see if more clarification is necessary. Sometimes we'll model how to teach a skill. We want you to feel confident you understand the techniques and skills you can use to help your child learn to read. Now, you might consider purchasing an inexpensive whiteboard and different colored erasable markers. The whiteboards can be used for a variety of reasons. We can use them to practice skills you're learning or to take notes. Having a whiteboard and markers or papers and pens may help you get more out of each meeting. Our sessions will be recorded, so if this time is not convenient for you, you can watch later. As I stated, the first 3 meetings are introductory in nature. We're providing an overview of what you can expect to learn during our at the beginning sessions. What children need in order to read is a 30-minute long video, jam-packed with information. So for this reason, the video has been divided into 3 separate parts and will be shown during our first 3 sessions. We will cover the 3 main components of beginning reading: letter knowledge, the sound structure of language, and print awareness. Dividing the content into 3 parts will give us time to think about what we are learning. The purpose is to help ensure you develop a deep understanding of the topics we will be covering. Today, we will watch part 1, Learn the Letters. Dr. Marvilene Hagopian Adams will explain why children need to learn the letters of our alphabet. You can get your own copy of this film by visiting Susan DeBeck's www.debeck.com webpage. Her link will be posted on the Dyslexia Initiative's website. Let's get started. So we'll transition over to the video. Here we go.
My family. I have a sister. We saw a dog.
This is a
Duck.
duck. Duck starts with
With that, the famous window cleaning gang sprang into action.
It's a fine bike you have there, Ethan and George. Would you like to help me deliver the papers?
Christopher and Hannah are 5 years old and in kindergarten. Their journey to reading success is well underway.
One day there was a rainbow.
Interestingly, it is what they know about reading before they begin first grade that determines how well they will read at the end of first grade. This is important to know because how well they read at the end of first grade is one of the strongest predictors of their success, not just in reading, but in later ability scores, whether they stay in school and their future earnings.
However many factors we study, we come back to the same set. How well a child moves into reading, how easily they take to reading in the first grade, depends most of all on how much they know and understand about reading when they enter first grade.
Marvilene Hagopian Adams, a cognitive psychologist, has examined the findings of hundreds of studies related to beginning reading. She interprets these and explains
What children need in order to read. A, B, C, I,
It's often said that the alphabet was only invented once, and embedded in that statement is a recognition that it was a truly brilliant invention.
I got an A.
The alphabet rests on the recognition that we can categorize our speech sounds into a set that's small in number, and that each of these tiny speech sounds can be represented by a symbol, that is by a letter in the alphabet. It really was a brilliant theoretical insight that you could take these little sounds, the inside sounds of syllables, and group them into classes and say, okay, these are B's, ba. These are C's, k. These are D's, da. And it is very much an abstract organization that we've imposed on our language. One of the strong arguments against teaching letters, letter sounds, spellings to beginning readers has been that it breaks the language up into meaningless,
Can you find another one? Yeah.
unnatural units, units that don't occur in natural speech, units that don't carry meaning. People use language to convey meaning. That is, we listen to meaning through language. Language is a vehicle for meaning. We don't pay attention to language itself, and certainly not to the sounds of language. And yet learning the alphabet requires, it's a prerequisite that you first have paid attention to these tiny little sounds inside the syllables.
D is for duck.
The child has to rediscover these categories of sounds, these phonemes that we tie with each letter. The easiest of all letter-sound correspondences are those between the initial sounds of words and the letters that are represented. And they're important because with that initial letter sound insight comes the basic logic of how this system is going to work. If you begin to think hard about the nature of reading, you'll notice that skillful readers don't look like they're attending to the separate words on the page. Instead, they behave and appear as though their reading is guided by meaning. And if they are attending to individual words, that they're taking them in at a glance, holistically, and perhaps only the important ones. Turns out, and we know this only through advances in technology and a lot of serious laboratory research, of particular importance here was the development of computer-controlled eye movement apparatuses where we could watch readers moving their eyes across meaningful text when we gave them challenges of reading for meaning or solving the mystery. We found that, in fact, skillful readers do fixate, that is, they read virtually each and every word of text, the big ones and the little ones. When they skip a little one, it's a word like a or of, and they visually process virtually each and every letter within each and every word. And not only that, but they automatically, irrepressibly translate the print to speech as they go. That is, they sound it out. And the reason that they neither look nor feel like that's what they do is because they do it so quickly, so automatically, so effortlessly, that all the while their conscious attention, their reflective attention, their awareness can be riveted on the message of the text. When you probe that ability, it turns out that it rests critically on their recognition of the letters within the words and their translation of those letters to speech. Now, what are the implications then for little ones? In terms of starting knowledge, the most important is clearly to have a grasp of the alphabetic principle. That is, that in English, printed words are comprised of letters, left to right, and that those letters and the spelling patterns that the letters form represent speech sounds and speech patterns of our spoken language.
How did the frog get away? Jump, frog, jump.
I think every child walks into first grade saying, now I'm going to learn how to read. And those who don't catch on are so disappointed. And there aren't that many options. You're 6. This has been your first big challenge. What are you to think? I mean, you can think that school's stupid, reading's stupid, you're stupid, your teacher's stupid. None of these are very adaptive responses for the 6-year-old embarking on a school career. A truly sobering finding is that how well a child reads at the end of first grade turns out to be one of the strongest predictors, not just of later reading, but also of later ability scores, aptitude scores, later economic potential, whether or not the child drops out of school. That leads us to ask, what are the best predictors of how well a child will learn to read by the end of first grade? And again, after we pare the whole thing down, the best predictor of how well a child will learn to read by the end of first grade is how much she or he understands and cares about reading on entering first grade.
Would you eat them in a box? Would you eat them with a fox?
Under that umbrella of how much children know and care about learning to read, there are 3 categories of factors that have asserted themselves.
A, B, C, D.
First category is children's familiarity with the letters of the alphabet.
What letter is it? Q.
That is, can they sing them? Can they say them? Can they write them? Can they recognize them? And I don't mean perfectly.
What letter is it? P.
The second category of factors is their awareness of language, their awareness of, in particular, the sound structure of language. Are they aware of rhymes? Are they aware of syllables? And all of this leads, of course, to the most important issue. Are they aware of phonemes?
Find the
That sound says,
Yeah, it's not. It starts with it's the letter that starts with my name.
Remember, it's the phonemes that the letters of an alphabet represent. So you do need to be aware of their existence in order for the system to make sense at all. And then the third category of factors we can collect under the label of text awareness. And these factors are measured by, for example, whether a child knows the front of the book from the back of a book, whether a child knows when I read this story over and over again, whether the child believes my script is coming from the pictures or the black squishy stuff on the page.
What children need learn the letters.
First category is children's familiarity with the letters of the alphabet. That is, can they sing them? Can they say them? Can they write them? Can they recognize them? And I don't mean perfectly, but their familiarity with them. The extent to which preschoolers are familiar with the letter of the alphabet strongly predicts the ease or difficulty with which they'll move into reading. Now, there's several reasons why that's true. One is that most children only learn the alphabet by playing with the alphabet. And playing with the alphabet comes hand in hand with other literary experiences, from magnetic letters on the refrigerator to book reading. It's to be expected that most children will confuse a number of letters well into second grade. They'll be turning their J's backwards and confusing their B's and D's. Mastery learning of the letters is not what's at issue here. Instead, it's a comfortable familiarity with them to the extent that the children can't perceive letters as letters. Then how are they going to perceive words as a pattern of letters?
I love that show, that video. Let's transition back to our slide. You might find it worthwhile to watch the video several times. You know, the first time I watched What Children Need, I was just beginning my science of reading education. And with each viewing, I discovered content I had missed. I wanted to learn everything Dr. Adams had to say because there was so much information in that film. I must have watched it at least 10 times. Now, Dr. Adams is a scholar in educational psychology research and author of Beginning to Read, Thinking and Learning About Print. Her review of the science of reading in this book explains why success in reading in the first grade is the best predictor of future reading success. You can find a link to her book on the Dyslexia Initiative's website. The smaller book, the blue one, is a summary of Beginning to Read. It will also be sourced on Ashley's website. The summary may be sufficient for your needs, Her main book, however, goes into a more in-depth analysis of the research, and frankly, I enjoyed reading both. What Children Need in Order to Read is intended to give you an overview of the initial skills it takes to become a good reader, no matter a child's age. Now, as I said, the first 3 sessions are just an introduction to what we will be learning in future meetings. So we will learn the 3 cornerstones of beginning reading. They are, first, letter knowledge. And as you can see under letter knowledge, we have letter recognition, letter naming, and identifying, identifying consonants and vowels. Second is awareness of language and the sound structure of language. This is known as phonological awareness. And under this heading, we have syllables, rhymes, and phonemes. The third cornerstone is text awareness, also called concepts of print, and also included in that cornerstone is language development. Successful reading acquisition is predicted by how well these 3 cornerstones have been established by the end of kindergarten. If your child is having problems learning to read, it's likely there are gaps in one or more of these cornerstones. So we want to help you learn these basic skills before we address phonics. So now let's watch a different video on letter knowledge. In this one, letter names with Reese, a kindergartner is having difficulty distinguishing between the letters V and Y. So we're going to watch expert teacher Linda Farrell as she uncovers additional issues and helps Reese recognize the differences between V and Y. Now, if your child is experiencing similar problems, you will want to pay close attention to how Linda figures out ways she can help this delightful little boy. Here we go.
What do you like to eat?
Ice cream
What kind of ice cream?
and chocolate.
Reese is in kindergarten at Windy Hill Elementary in Calvert County, Maryland. Before he can learn how to read, he'll need to master all 26 letters of the alphabet. Reese knows most of them, and reading expert Linda Farrell is going to help him with the last few that he needs to learn.
Letters have to be absolutely automatic, all 26, because when you're reading, so many different things are going on. You cannot be struggling with which letter, is this a V or a Y? It's going to, even those 2 confusions will slow up reading forever. I would like you to sing the alphabet song.
A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, T, U, V, W, X, Y, and Z. Now I know my ABCs. Next time, won't you sing with me?
You
I
know
can
the
go
song.
quicker.
No, that was quick enough. I could hardly keep up. Reese could sing the alphabet song, sort of. He would be what many teachers would say, oh yeah, he can sing the song. If you listen really carefully, you would hear that Reese had difficulty when he sang the song articulating LMNOP, which is also, many children have that. And he had difficulty articulating the W. When we got to letter naming, it was very interesting. W is one of the letters that he didn't know. We find this often, is that the source of a confusion for a letter name will often go back to, you find that same confusion in singing the song. So when children have difficulty with letter names. It isn't as easy for them as it is for other children to learn this shape. This abstract shape has this abstract name. And some kids learn that easily and some kids need more practice. And Reese is one who needs practice. What we're going to do is we are going to sing the alphabet song and touch the letters as we sing. Okay, so get your finger. Now sing the first row.
A, B, C, D.
Stop. Okay, so you sang the first row. Sing them. Okay, now go and sing the whole thing to here.
A, B, C, D.
Asking Reese to touch the letters ensures that he'll look at the letters as he sings.
P.
Okay, now this row is a little bit hard. So let's do this. Let's go. L, M, N, O, P. Say them again. Wait, what was that?
L, O, M, N, P.
Well, let's try that again. What's that letter?
O.
What's that letter?
N.
What's that? Reese has difficulty with L, M, N, O, P. Now, he can do that. He can say that's an L, that's an M, that's an N, that's an O, that's a P, but he can't say L, M, N, O, P. He can't sing it and say it at the same time. I don't know why this happens, but I see it all the time. When children can coordinate a movement with a visual, a letter, they can coordinate and say and touch the letter at the same time, they will know it better. So we do that with the letter song, with the alphabet song, and make sure that our children can touch and say each letter. And we do it over and over and over again because we always teach to mastery. And the thing that we worked with the most with Reese was the LMNOP line. We are getting him to look at the letter as he says its name or sings its name. That's going to be a really critical skill when he learns to read because we need him to look at the letter when he's reading.
X, Y, and Z.
Is there an and there?
I said and.
The song says and. So you're going to go Y and, good like this. Y and. So take your hand, go Y. And Z. Do that one again.
Y and Z.
Okay. Do you think you can do them all without making any mistakes? I think you can.
Without pointing?
You have to point. That's part of the trick, okay? So do it. I think you can do it.
A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q.
By looking at the letters as he names them, Reese is developing an image in his mind that is linked with the letter's name. Being able to easily recognize letters is critical to becoming a fluent reader.
A, B, C's. Next time, won't you sing with me?
That was pretty darn good. We teach the names of the letters before we teach the sounds of the letters. The logical reason is that an A is always an A. An S is always an S. The name is a constant. The sound changes. I look at it as the A is the big category, just like this is a flower. These are all flowers, but this is a rose. Okay, we have an A. This is a peony. Okay, I have an A, and in this word, with this spelling pattern, it's an A. In this word, with this spelling pattern, it's an A. So we're teaching the category first. We are then go to the sounds. And most of the letters, if you know the name, the sound is easy to learn. B, B. S, S, Z, Z, D, D. There are some letters that don't match their sounds. Y and W, and we have to teach those, especially those don't come naturally, but most of the sounds come easily. Also, the song gives you an anchor for the names. I can sing this song. I have a chant, even though I don't know what an A is from when I'm 2 years old. I learned the alphabet song. What's that letter?
Y.
This is a Y. That's a V. Can you say V? Okay, look down at the letter and say V. Point to it and say V.
V.
What's that letter?
V.
Point to it and say V.
V.
And what's that letter?
Z.
Okay.
They kind of, so when you put this way, this way, kind of looks like an N.
It does kind of look like an N. Yeah. It was very interesting working with Reese because he pointed out to me in very articulately how V and Z looks like an N and V and Y, and it was exactly the letters that he was getting confused about. And he could even tell us as a kindergartner why they were confusing. Okay, here we go.
Y.
You're telling me that's a Y, and I'm going to tell you that's a V.
V.
So can you say V?
V.
What's at the bottom of the V? A point. What's at the bottom of the V?
Point.
Okay, so
It's kind of, if you turn it this way and there's a line, it kind of looks like, it would look like an A.
it
And
would.
it looks like a triangle when you put it this way. And
Yeah.
it ends.
Okay, but what letter is that? Is it,
Y.
okay, is this A or V?
Y.
Y? Oh my gosh, I have to show you something. Y looks like this, okay? When I first started working with Reese, I was just trying to get him to know V because my assessment had told me V was confusing. I don't work on all of the confusing letters. I work on 1 or 2 confusing letters at a time. I work on 1 letter if he just can't remember the name. And when I first started working with Reese, I thought that he could not remember the name of V. So I get a stack of index cards. Maybe I get 12, maybe I get 14, maybe I get 8. Half of those will be the letter that we're working on, 1 letter. The other half will be letters that he is very confident with. So he doesn't have to think about those. So that I go, what's the name of this letter? What's the name of this letter? As I did that, it was real easy for him to say V, V, V. Let's do V.
V.
What's the name of that letter?
V.
What's at the bottom of the V?
Point.
You got it. Say V.
V.
Okay, what's that letter?
S. B. E. B. C. B. T. B. X.
Let's try these one more time. You think you can go through them again?
There's a lot of V.
Once Miss Farrell saw that Reese knew the name of the letter V, then she worked on helping Reese discriminate between the letters V and Y.
My job is to figure out a way to make them not confusing. For him, they all looked like they were the same shape. So I have to think, okay, as I was working with him, I saw that he confused V and Y. He'd already told me, oh, they both have these and they look, this has a point here and a point here. So my job is to get him to look at the letter and give him a way to verbalize the difference between the shapes of the letters. And I had never done this before with V and Y, but I looked and I said, well, V has a point at the bottom and Y doesn't have a point at the bottom. This goes through my mind. Y doesn't have a point at the bottom. What's at the bottom is a line. Okay, so I'll make that difference. This is a V.
And Y.
You got it. Now, there's a line at the bottom of Y. What's at the bottom of Y?
Line.
A line. What's at the bottom of V?
Point.
Okay, say V has a point.
V has a point.
V.
V.
Say Y has a line.
Y has a line.
Y.
Y.
Okay, now point to the point and say V has a point.
V has a point. V.
Say Y has a line.
Y has a line. Line.
Say Y has a line. Y. Okay,
Y has a line. Y.
Got to point to the line.
Y has a line. Y. It has a point. V.
Okay, now we're gonna, every time I show you a letter, you have to say that, and then you have to say it, okay? You
Okay.
ready? Okay, here we go.
V has a point. V. V has a point. V. V has a point. V. Y has a line. Y. Y has a line. Y. Y has a line. Y. Y has a line. Y.
Okay, now I want you to try saying them without saying V has a point V. Just say the name of the letter. Go slow, okay?
Okay. I might go quicker and quicker. Y.
Okay, now you have to look down and point and tell me,
Y.
what does Y have?
A line.
A line. What does V?
V.
It is. I started in this lesson by just getting him to know V. But that wasn't going to work because he still wanted to call it a Y sometimes. So I needed to set up the contrast. And you saw that it worked as long as he said V has a point, Y has a line. V has a point, V. Y has a line, Y. I stopped the scaffolding too quickly because I went back and he looked at it and he just saw two lines and he went, why? We need to get, whenever we do a scaffold where we're comparing two letters that look similar and we're saying this one has a point at the bottom, this one has a line, he has to do that enough where it is automatic for him to say it and know that letter, and he has to look at it. Because what we want him to do is subliminally, when he stops saying it, being looking at that and thinking it, and then eventually he doesn't have to go through the thinking V has a point, it just automatically becomes V. 2 high fives.
I missed one.
Let's do another one then. Once he got good at Y and V, just those two contrasting, then I would put 3 Ys, 3 Vs, and 6 letters that he already knows, so that he would have to think. We're making it just incrementally more difficult for him to have to remember until he just automatically looks at that letter and it's a V, and that one's a Y. And it does happen. Sometimes it happens with practice 25 times. Sometimes it happens with practice 250 times. And sometimes it's 1,000 times, but it will happen. 2 high fives. That was really, really good.
We'd like to thank
That's so cute. So today, we gave you an overview of what you can expect to learn and do during our preliminary sessions. We will be sharing our first few meetings covering what young children from babies to toddlers and preschoolers need to learn before stepping foot into a kindergarten classroom. Today we learned letter knowledge is the first cornerstone. Now to remember this cornerstone, just think letters. When my children were little, I did not know I could make the transition from home to school easier. I didn't know what children needed to know and understand to become proficient readers. Well, it turns out there's a great deal of information children need to know. So we hope that after today's session, and with the knowledge that we plan to share with you in future meetings, you will be able to teach your child how to read. But remember, you've got this, you can do it, and we will help you. So we are just about ready to start our wrap-up chat. This slide is an overview of where we are with our presentations at this time. Sessions 2 and 3 have already been recorded. In those meetings, we explained that children need to learn the sounds of our language and become familiar with how print works. The videos have been posted on YouTube. You can find our YouTube recordings by searching for the parent sessions and the number of the meeting you want to watch. Now, session 4 is scheduled for this coming Tuesday, November 10th. In that meeting, we will explain how you can use letter cards to teach letter naming. On the 17th, you will learn the prerequisites of letter formation, printing. We will also begin our discussion on concepts of print. After session 5, we will break for the holidays and return in January. What we are doing is trying to help you prepare for the challenging work of helping your child prepare for the challenging work of learning to read and write. We're also helping you find gaps older children might have. We're going to take you step by step in sequential order in much the same way the science of reading tells us reading should be taught. Here's a list of things you might want to do before our next session. First, visit our recommended links to deepen your understanding of the science of reading and letter knowledge. Second, make alphabet cards with your child. So using file cards or a heavy cardstock, you can create your own cards. They'll be about 2 inches by 3 inches. Let's see if you can see this. Can you see these cards right here? Ladies, can you see? Great. Okay, so we have uppercase letters on one side. On the other side, we'll have its lowercase form. Now, when you make your cards, you're going to make your consonants black. Use a black marker for the consonants, and vowels will be red. Now you need 2 cards for Y. Can we see this? Good. Okay. So we need 1 black card for Y and 1 red card. And that's because sometimes Y is a consonant and sometimes it's a vowel. For example, the Y in yes is a consonant, and in the words such as silly and shy, Y is a vowel. We'll show you how to use the cards to teach letter naming in our next meeting on Tuesday, November 10th in Parent Session 4. Let me go back, I skipped one. Okay. Oh, I guess we're good. Okay, our wrap-up chat is next. In wrap-up chats, we deepen your understanding. That's the purpose. We're going to provide extra practice and we'll have time to get to know each other. This is your opportunity to ask Susan DeBeck if she's here about her video, but we also have our panel of educators who are here to respond to questions about today's topic or any other interests or concerns you might have. Should you need to leave, thank you so much for joining us today. Please consider inviting friends and family members to tune in with you on Tuesday. Now we can start our chat. Did Susan make it? Ashley?
I'm sorry, Marvy, what?
Did Susan DeBeck make it into our meeting?
No, ma'am, she did not.
Okay, that's too bad. Okay, well, we have our panel of experts, Terry, Marilyn, Michelle, and Dr. Norma Bicker. Any questions? No questions? Well, maybe that's, you know what, Marilyn? Could you please, when we were meeting yesterday, you talked about Linda Farrell and how much you enjoyed watching her work with Reese. Could you tell us a little bit about what you were saying that yesterday?
What I was saying yesterday was that her patience and her enthusiasm were remarkable. She also understood that she had to break it down for him and really focus again and again on what she was trying to teach, the difference between the V and the Y. And she was so positive and encouraging. I just thought she was marvelous. It was a great example.
Any other comments from our panel members? Okay, well,
I was just going to add that working with a child who is struggling like Reese was, she let us know. I mean, she worked with him on a couple letters that really it did take patience, which I think all parents can appreciate when you're working with your child and they're struggling. But also the fact that sometimes a child will pick up a skill very quickly. Mm-hmm. And then, as she said, sometimes it will be 200 times on the same skill. And that does take a lot of patience just to persevere when the child is not getting it, or when you go back a day later and they've forgotten what they learned the day before. So just keep that in mind as you're working. If your child is not remembering, that, as she said, they will get it if you provide the amount of practice that they need in order to learn the skill. And that doesn't just apply to letter names, it applies to just about anything really that you're trying to convey or teach your child. So that's just what I wanted to add. Marilyn, did you have another comment?
I was just going to add, Terry, that notice that when he couldn't differentiate between the V and the Y, it was too much, she backed up. Mm-hmm. And I think it really is important to make the experience positive for the child. Otherwise, he or she's just going to give up and be frustrated. So, you know, when she was making the job a little more difficult, that is scaffolding, and he couldn't do it, then she backed right down and gave him that extra support. So I think, you know, as you said, Terry, sometimes it takes multiple times, and really to a young child, the V and the Y look so similar. Mm-hmm. I mean, there's that long stick on the end of the line on the Y, but it's not that different. It's tough to distinguish between the two. So she realized that, and she went back to ensure, because I think the bottom line is the child has to feel success. And if he or she is discouraged, then, you know, it's just not going to work. So we have to build.
I'd like to add one other thing, dovetail on to what Terry and Marilyn have said also. You notice that when he was singing the song, and he would say, when he was going through the alphabets rather, and he would always add that "and" in there, and which was not a part of the alphabets, but she made it fun by just something as simple as a hand gesture when she said, well, when you get to the "and," you know, touch your chest. And I would encourage parents to make it as much fun as possible, in addition to having patience, you know, to make it enjoyable for the student. And like I think Marilyn just said, you want the child to feel a level of success. And as long as they're feeling some level of success and enjoying the process, I think that will enable them to continue to learn it and continue to scaffold on their learning as they go along. You know, they won't feel discouraged.
Now we have a question from Lorraine. So Lorraine,
Hello.
there you are.
Hi. So my daughter receives OG intervention twice a week from our local Children's Dyslexia Center. And when I'm listening to her tutoring and they're talking about closed syllables and open syllables and prefixes and suffixes, I mean, she almost always answers correctly. She seems like she's got it down. And then upon when we're in real life or we're playing a game or, her reading and just regular, it's almost like it seems then that she forgets or it doesn't transfer easily. So I guess my question is it common that they, during their tutoring sessions, it can seem as though they have it, and then when all these other stimulus is going on, when she's trying to play this game or whatever, it's almost like she seems to lose it. So does it not transfer easily, or does that come with mastery? Or
Well, what I would say is that it's in her short-term memory while she's playing that, while she's working with the tutor.
Okay.
But then when you come back to the skill at a later time, that's when she has to pull it out of a more long-term memory.
Yes.
And it's not really solidified. It's not automatic. Remember, they were talking about automaticity and mastery of the letters. So that's her, it's still not at an automatic level where she can apply it in different situations.
Okay.
Right. It's the application part that's missing.
So that would be to keep mastering those skills.
Yes.
Okay. And so also she's fourth grade now, and she still confuses B and D still almost every time when she's writing. And that's again the same thing, just mastery of those letters.
Michelle, you had a cute trick with B and D.
We've heard so many with the B, your left is the B, your right is the D, or B has a big belly, D wears a diaper.
I have not heard.
We have worked with so many with her. And again, it's almost like, sometimes if you question her on it, she'll know it. But then when she's just writing in her journal or writing for fun, every time it's backwards.
I hadn't heard the one about D is for diaper. That's
me neither.
Other ones.
B has a big belly and D wears a diaper.
One of the things that I've found helps students when they actually are writing it is they think of, you write a C and you continue around and then up and down, it becomes a D. And so if they practice saying a CD, and explain, they know what a CD is, and you just CD, and it kind of embeds in their memory what it looks like. It might be one idea, especially at maybe fourth grade.
Yeah, I haven't heard that one yet, so that's worth a try. Thank you all for answering my question.
As long as she's starting where, you start a D, you do start and go around and then up and down. Otherwise, it wouldn't make sense. The idea of CD, turn a C into a D. And then, of course, the other would be the lowercase b. Just picture the top of a capital, because most children can get a capital. They know a capital B.
Yes,
so
she doesn't confuse the capitals.
Therefore, just practice with her that there's a top, but it still starts. It's still the same direction as the capital B.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, we have a comment from Heather. Heather noticed that Marilyn Adams, when she was explaining the letters, you have the C right? She was saying you have a B, ba. She was using the sound.
Yes.
We all noticed that.
Noticed that, of course.
Yes.
She's right. The question was, is she considering making a more current video? And I'm sorry, but I'm pretty sure that that's not going to happen. But since that was the da and the ba, even though that we know that that's a mistake, that we want to pronounce those words as crisply as possible. B and the. We really feel like this video has so much information, and it's really wonderful and really perfect, I think, for an introduction for parents. So thank you, Heather, for that. And you're right. And let's see, Melissa. Oh, Melissa, for B, she has her daughter say honeybee, since you have to start a B by writing an H. That's another cute trick. Okay. Any more comments? Well, thank you. Thank you for joining today. We'll be back. We have many more sessions to do, to create, to write. Any comments that you have, we'll greatly appreciate any of your ideas on ways that we can make this better and more useful for you. Please let us know, because that's why we're here. We're all former teachers, or in my case, I was just a parent. And we're here because we know your struggles, and we just want to help. So,
Marvy, there's another question.
Okay.
You want to take a look at
Is this
Cicely?
Cicely says, with my daughter, she was struggling so much recognizing her letters, it didn't matter how we pointed out the differences. We ended up switching to a different script. We went from ball and stick to Danielian. Is that something you have run into before? And Cicely, you can unmute your mic so we can have the discussion together. Are you there?
Yes, I'm here. Thank you.
Has that helped?
It has helped tremendously. We noticed almost an immediate difference.
May I ask what what the letters were that it helped to change to Danielian? I'm not sure I quite understood, and I would love to know.
So she was struggling even with just differences between A and O. She was confusing all of her letters, mainly her lowercase, but she was confusing A, O, U, V, N, W, H, V, B, D. Oh man, there was so many. It was like half of her alphabet. She couldn't see in the way she was processing what the differences were. And with her, it's even when she writes, when she draws, she does things very flowingly. And with that very square, very block writing, everything looked the same. To her, there were no differences. And even if you would point out a minute difference, it was still the same to her. And our OG tutor that we are still working with suggested maybe switching scripts. And I actually switched schools in elementary school, and I had used Zanen Blouser and then also Danielian. I had switched when I was I think second or third grade. And I had asked, if she thought Danielian would help. And she said, yeah, maybe. She said, because some kids do better with cursive. And it's kind of like that in between script.
Right.
And it was like the second we switched all of our worksheets to that script, it was almost immediate. She was picking the differences.
Wow.
How great is she?
She's in first grade now. She just started first grade. We kind of got a jump start on her diagnosis because her dad's dyslexic. So we started noticing the struggle pretty quickly with her. And he was like, yeah, hey, she's got my thing. We need to with that. Yeah. And I'm like, okay. So we got her diagnosed, and unfortunately the school here, yeah, I'm just gonna say yeah on that. And failed miserably, pretty much told us they weren't going to have any ability to help her at all. They wouldn't even say the word dyslexia. They refused, and I got tired of fighting with them, and then COVID happened, and I'm like, okay, well, I guess homeschool it is.
Yeah,
well, I thank you for sharing that about the different.
That's great.
I didn't know if anybody else had experienced that or not, because she just was not getting it at all, and she was so frustrated.
Well, it also speaks to the importance of being really working slowly and making sure that you have that the children have their letters down like one at a time. You're not going to introduce very many at a time. And when children are learning their letter names, just working with the letters in their name, like with the magnetic letters on the refrigerator, are helpful. But at the same time, you know, I think it's important for us to remember as parents that we not introduce too many at one time. So we work really hard on one letter. We can do upper and lower case at the same time and then make sure that they have it pretty well down before we add a new letter. And then we can work on those two letters at the same time as we're working. And then another piece of that goes with the research, and the research says that when you're teaching letter names, or when you're teaching the letters, right, what you're going to do is you're going to choose letters that are not that similar to each other. For example, the BD confusion, or P also, and Q fall in that category. So for example, if you're working with, if you teach uppercase A first, then maybe you can go to M, because it's looks completely different. But also, and I know some of the ladies in my group also think that it's you know, useful to just go through the alphabet. But the idea is that you teach one letter at a time. Once they understand that letter, they know pretty well, you can teach a letter, and then you're working on two letters at a time, right? And then you add a third. So you work very slowly. And then once the child knows a letter, knows it well, like Reese knew O and P, you can keep those letters on the side and bring them in as necessary, but keep your focus on the new stuff, what they're still working on. Any other?
Yeah, there's another question from Grace.
Okay, Grace, can you unmute and go ahead and ask your question?
Hello, my boy, 5 years 10 months. I think he's smart to read, but he don't like to writing. And we are from Jakarta, so our daily language is Indonesian, and we also have Mandarin language. Is he confused with three languages we must learn, or any suggestion you can help us? Thank you.
So he's confusing B and D and P and Q, but your boy is just, he's not quite 6 old. So right now, you really don't have a lot to worry about. They've got plenty of time to help him using the video. But right now, you can still breathe and not be concerned. He's still very young. It's very common for children at this age to have these kinds of confusions, especially for D and P, B and D, and P, Q, and G. You know,
okay, this is normal. Okay.
Very normal. Very normal.
He hasn't had enough experience with those letters to be
Oh.
able to recognize the differences between the letters. He's so young. So, you know, when I just continue to work with him on it, but don't be anxious about it. It's just give him more exposure to the letters. They'll come.
And you can play,
Especially,
right?
he's already reading. You said he can
What?
read quite well.
Yes, he can read quite well. Because at school he learned 3 languages. I think maybe he's confused maybe.
Well,
I think that does.
How old is he again?
He's not quite 6.
Oh, okay.
Yes, he's actually doing very well. You should be really proud.
Yeah.
The other will come. You can
Thank
give him
you.
practice, and I think it's really exciting that you're in Jakarta.
Yeah.
That's exciting too for
Yeah.
us.
Thanks for joining us.
Okay. Well, this was a fun evening. Thank you for joining us. We'll be back again on Tuesday with more letter naming. We're going to use our cards, and we're going to show you how to teach letter naming. So come back on Tuesday. We'll see you on Tuesday. And I guess that's all for our evening. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Good
Marvin.
night. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you, Marvy.
Bye-bye, ladies.
Bye.
Bye.